When the villagers saw the beanstalk piercing through the clouds, they thought history was repeating itself. But Jack wasn't looking to climb into the sky. He wasn't after gold or glory. He wanted giants to come down. Because this time, he had a plan, a trap. And it started with a seed that didn't fall from heaven, but was left behind after a massacre no one dared to talk about. In a land scarred by old stories, Jack grew up hearing whispers of giants, monsters who once walked the earth and vanished after a mysterious firestorm. His mother begged him to forget, but Jack had questions. And when a cloaked stranger gave him a seed and spoke his father's name, a name he never heard before, everything changed. What if Jack was never the hero of the tale, but the bait? Before we uncover what Jack truly awakened, make sure to subscribe and like this video. Your support brings more forgotten stories to light and helps this channel grow, because the truth behind the beanstalk was never about what was above the clouds. It was always about what fell from them. The village of Eldergrove lay nestled beneath a canopy of storm-colored clouds, its fields forever shadowed by the memory of fire from above. No one talked about what had happened 3 decades ago, the year the giants vanished, but the scars remained. Barns scorched black, gravestones with no names, and an old bell tower half crushed as if gripped by a hand the size of a house. Jack was born into this silence, and in that silence he grew restless. While others avoided the ruins at the edge of town, he wandered through them like a child drawn to danger, pressing his palms against burned stone, whispering questions to the wind. His mother watched with worry in her eyes and secrets on her tongue. Each year on the first frost, villagers gathered to recite the prayer of distance, pleading with the skies to stay still. They didn't understand what they feared. They just obeyed. But Jack wanted to know, why did the elders refuse to speak of the beanstalk? Why did every story end halfway, always skipping over the screams? When he turned 13, Jack found an old leather-bound book under a floorboard, his father's journal. There were no words, only sketches, giants with hollow eyes, symbols carved into clouds, and a stalk growing in reverse, from sky to soil. That's when he knew something was wrong. Jack's mother had always told him his father died in the flood, but there had never been a flood in Eldergrove. Not in any written record, not even among the town's many whispered lies. One winter evening, as the cold choked the air and fires dimmed low, a stranger arrived. Cloaked in patchwork robes and eyes that never blinked, he left a single object on their doorstep, a pouch of black seeds. Jack opened it, and among the strange orbs, he found a folded scrap of paper. 3 words were written in ink that shimmered like oil. Make them come. That night, Jack didn't sleep. He sat on the roof, watching the clouds churn above the hills, clutching the paper in one hand and the seeds in the other. Was this a warning, a threat, or an invitation? He didn't ask his mother. He knew she wouldn't answer. Her eyes, once warm with bedtime stories, had become cold and distant, like she knew this day would come. And maybe she did. The next morning, Jack walked past the village line and into the forbidden meadow. That's where he planted the first seed. He didn't pray. He didn't hope. He just waited. And the earth trembled, as if it remembered something buried too long. As days passed, the villagers noticed a strange glow at the edge of the horizon, a greenish light twisting upward like smoke. They warned Jack to stay away from it, but he only smiled. Because this time he wasn't the boy climbing into danger. He was the one setting the bait. The beanstalk didn't grow overnight. It creaked, groaned, and bled sap that smelled like iron. And when it finally broke through the clouds, Jack didn't look up with wonder. He stared straight ahead, watching the shadows at the base of the stalk lengthen. Something was moving, coming down. And Jack was ready. Jack's trap began simply: bait the giants with curiosity, not greed. Word spread in hushed rumblings above the clouds, carried by creatures that flitted between realms. At dawn he rigged the base of the stalk with runic snares, cords woven from his mother's hair, and iron fragments scavenged from the old bell tower. When the first giant stomped down, its footprints cracked the earth like thunder. It leaned over, nostrils flaring, and plucked one of the glowing pods Jack had scattered as lures. Her flash of emerald light bathed its face, and it roared in confusion, its voice echoing through Eldergrove's narrow streets. Villagers peered from shuttered windows, their prayers rising like smoke. Jack felt a thrill. The trap was real. But as the giant staggered, clutching its head, he sensed something else, an intelligence awakening beneath its shattered mind. By midday, two giants had slipped the knots and broke free of the snares, roaring in fury. Jack had anticipated their strength. He retreated to the observation point carved into the ruins, where he watched them tear at roots and stones. He flung vials of powdered bone, a mixture he'd learned from the journal's cryptic notes, into the air. The mist swirled, slowing their movements. One giant stumbled, its breath catching in its throat. Jack's heart pounded. Each moment bought was another second closer to capturing what he truly desired. Yet as he studied their eyes, he recognized something horrifying. They weren't mindless monsters, but survivors. Their hollow gaze flickered with pain, and in that instant, guilt twisted inside him like steel. When the sun dipped low, Jack enacted the next phase, collapse the field of view. He triggered hidden mechanisms that snapped iron gates upward, creating a corridor. The giants, blinded by the spell, funneled in, exactly as he planned. Jack's pulse raced when the final gate slammed shut with a deafening clang. Inside, he could glimpse their colossal silhouettes, thrashing against the iron bars. He whispered a chant from his father's journal, and the bars hummed with energy, tightening like a noose. Yet one giant, taller and leaner than the rest, stepped forward calmly as if it understood the trap. It placed its massive hand against the metal and stared at Jack through the grate, lips parted in a whisper Jack thought he heard. "Father." As darkness fell, Jack lit lanterns along the corridor, their flickering flames casting dancing shadows against jagged walls. The air grew thick with the scent of damp earth and sweat. He approached the barred enclosure, holding a lantern in one hand and the journal in the other. He recited the words scratched in his father's hand, "Speak your truth." The lead giant lowered its massive head, and in a voice that trembled like distant thunder, it spoke Jack's name. Jack faltered, the lantern's glow flickering across the giant's hollow eyes. He realized too late that he had summoned something far beyond his understanding, a being who knew not only his name, but his bloodline. A shiver ran down his spine. The trap had captured more than giants. It had captured history itself. Suddenly the earth shook as if responding to a call from beneath the roots of the world. The runic snares shattered, and the corridor's walls creaked. Jack stepped back, heart pounding. The smaller giants started howling, their cries merging into a mournful chorus. The lead giant turned, its breath misting in the lantern light, and stomped toward the gate where Jack stood. In that moment, Jack raised his lantern high, the flame dancing in his determined eyes. He wasn't afraid of the giants. He was afraid of the truth they carried. The giant halted, its massive fist poised, and Jack braced himself, whispering, "Tell me why." A single tear glinted on the giant's cheek before it spoke again. "Your father stood against us. He sealed the world from ours." The words struck Jack like a blade. His father's journal lay open in his trembling hand, its pages filled with sketches of fallen portals and symbols of unity broken. The giant's next words echoed through the corridor. "He betrayed both worlds." Jack's breath caught. The trap had sprung, but the real snare was the revelation itself, one that threatened to shatter everything Jack believed about his family, his mission, and his place in this ancient war. Jack's lantern flickered as he stepped beyond the shattered gate, entering a cavern carved from living rock, its walls etched with ancient runes that pulsed like wounded hearts. Here he expected fury, raging giants desperate for freedom. Instead, there was silence broken only by the drip of unseen water. The lead giant rested a massive hand on Jack's shoulder, its touch colder than any stone. In a voice heavy with sorrow, it spoke of a pact broken long ago. Humanity's promise to protect the realms, sealed by Jack's ancestors at the cost of their own blood. A tremor shook the cavern. Dust rain fell. Jack swallowed hard. The truth, striking like a spear through his chest, the very blood in his veins carried betrayal. In the dim glow, The lead giant unfurled a tapestry woven with celestial fibers, depicting Jack's father standing before a council of giants, raising his sword to shatter a crystalline portal. Jack's breath caught as he recognized his own face sketched beside his father's, destined to follow in the footsteps of that fatal act. A mini twist spiraled through Jack's mind. What if planting the beanstalk wasn't rebellion, but a desperate attempt at reconciliation? The giant's eyes gleamed with ancient grief. "You think you set us as prey," it rumbled, "but your blood called us home." A distant rumble echoed, and spectral forms rose from the cavern floor. Ghostly silhouettes of giants who fell in the war, their voices weaving a mournful chorus. They circled Jack, pointing hollow fingers at the journal in his hand, demanding answers. Each ghost spoke a fragment of memory, piecing together a story of betrayal. The giants had been guardians of balance, not monsters. They revealed that Jack's father had stolen the seed to collapse the realm's barrier, fearing an alliance that would shift power away from humankind. A new micro-cliffhanger emerged as the largest spirit extended a flickering hand toward Jack. "Will you seal the breach or open it again?" Jack's heart thundered. He remembered the day his mother whispered, "Your father died for our kind." But these voices twisted that memory. He had died to imprison both worlds, condemning the giants to exile. Anger and guilt warred within him, forging a crucible of decision. He raised the journal and tore a page, the ink dissolving into stardust as the spirits watched. "I will uncover the truth," he declared, voice echoing off stone. The cavern trembled, as though awaiting his choice. Suddenly a shard of the portal crystal materialized, spinning mid-air. It shattered into fragments that embedded into the cavern walls, each glowing with latent power. Jack realized the trap had done more than lure giants. It had reactivated the portal's core. Through the shards, he glimpsed a fractured sky, torn between realms. A final mini-twist. The giant's return was never the end. It was the beginning of a new threat, far greater than either world. Jack staggered backward, eyes wide with horror, as the cavern doors slammed shut behind him. As the lantern's light dimmed, Jack stood alone amid silent watchers, giant and ghost alike, his mission irreversibly altered. The trap had snapped, the portal pulsed, and destiny beckoned him toward a choice that would reshape both worlds. He tightened his grip on the journal, voice barely a whisper. "Show me the way home." Jack stood before the shattered portal, core, its shards humming with fractured light, painting his face in streaks of gold and violet. Around him, giants and ghosts watched in solemn silence, their fates entwined with his decision. Memories of his mother's lullabies warred with the giant's mournful cries. The weight of ancestral betrayal pressed on his shoulders. He could feel the barrier between worlds thin, as if reality itself held its breath. With trembling hands, he reached into the journal and retrieved the final rune, a symbol of unity he had never dared to understand. The cavern's air crackled as he pressed the rune against the largest crystal shard. Sparks of energy danced along his fingertips, and the portal's light surged, threatening to overwhelm him. Fear threatened to consume Jack. His father's legacy loomed, both hero and traitor in one. But he remembered the giant's sorrowful eyes, the ghost's pleading echoes, and his mother's distant tears. This trap had been woven from vengeance, but now it offered redemption. He closed his eyes and whispered an oath, to heal the breach rather than exploit it. As his words faded, a wave of warmth radiated outward. The portal's shards glowed softer, and the runes on the walls pulsed in harmony. Jack sensed the giants' relief ripple through the air, their massive forms relaxing. The giants stepped forward, their footsteps gentle as they removed shackles of light from their wrists, symbols of centuries-long exile. A sound like wind through the highest clouds filled the chamber as the portal began to mend itself. Fractures sealed, strands of energy weaving back into a single arch of crystalline blue. Jack opened his eyes to see a path rising toward the heavens, a bridge of light connecting Eldergrove to the world beyond. The lead giant bowed his head, placing a heavy hand on Jack's shoulder in a gesture of profound respect. "You have chosen wisely, son of the bridge," he rumbled. Jack nodded, heart pounding with both triumph and grief. He had broken the fire cycle of hatred, but he would carry its scars forever. With newfound purpose, Jack led the giants toward the beanstalk, which had withered to a single silver vine curling into the sky. As they ascended the bridge, he realized this journey was more than a passage, it was a covenant. The villagers of Eldergrove, peering up in awe, saw not invaders, but allies returning home. Mothers clutched children to their chests. Elders whispered prayers of wonder. Jack raised his lantern high, its glow mingling with the dawn's first light. He understood then that his trap had become a portal of hope, a choice that reclaimed what was lost and forged a new beginning. When Jack stepped onto the cloud-lit path, the giants followed, their footsteps echoing like distant thunder. Each step healed a wound in the sky, sealing the scars of war and restoring balance between realms. In that moment, Jack became more than a boy with vengeance. He became the bridge keeper, keeper of unity between worlds. And as they vanished into the mist above, the villagers below felt a whisper on the wind. Peace had been sown where once only fear grew. The bridge stood as a testament to Jack's choice, a living symbol that even in darkness, one soul's decision can reshape destiny. Jack returned to Eldergrove months later, the vines of the beanstalk now blooming with silver flowers that glowed. At night, he planted new seeds of trust between humans and giants, teaching both to remember the past while forging a future together. The village's bell tower, once half crushed, was restored, its ringing a melody of hope that echoed across the valleys. Jack placed the journal in the tower's heart, its runes lighting every night. And though the giants had returned to their realm, their promise remained. Whenever the bridge was needed, Jack's lantern would guide them home. If this journey moved you, subscribe now and hit that like button to uncover more tales where fate takes an unexpected turn. Share your thoughts below. What would you have done in Jack's place? Join our members for exclusive behind-the-scenes content and early access to new episodes. Your support keeps these ancient secrets alive. More revelations are on the way. Don't miss the next thrilling chapter.